to the kingdom. Cheers. A toast to the king.
You elect will drink wine new with Yahweh Shai. You elect, as of right now we say hopeful elect. You elect of Israel out there will drink wine new with our Lord Yahweh Shai in his Father's kingdom, which is going to be the kingdom of heaven here on this planet Earth once Yahweh Shai returns. When our Lord comes back, one of the first things he's going to do is have a toast with his men. He's going to have a toast with his men, those that stood stiffly for his name and his Father's name. Let's read this one more time. Matthew chapter 26, verse 29. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, which is wine, which is made from grapes, as you know. And our Lord, he loves to drink, man. That's something that our Lord took pleasure in when he was here on this planet Earth. He's not going to do it anymore until he returns to do it with you, showing just how much he loves his elect, man. He's not even going to drink until he does it again with you. I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. So what a moment that's going to be, man. And you can only imagine the quality of wine that's going to be. Our Lord Yahweh Shai, he has access to different things that we don't even know about, man. Access to different grapes you don't know about. Has access to an entirely different quality of life that we don't know about. But he's going to reveal it to you. He's going to give it to you when he returns. Now, you have what's called a loyal toast. A loyal toast. I'm going to read this real quick. A loyal toast is a salute given to the sovereign monarch or head of state of the country in which a formal gathering is given. In this case, the sovereign monarch or head of state would be Yahweh Shai. He's our sovereign monarch. He controls everything, man. But guess what? He's also going to extend that power to you elect. He's going to share that power with you. A loyal toast is a salute given to the sovereign monarch or head of state of the country in which a formal gathering is given, or by expatriates of that country, whether or not the particular head of state is present. In this case, the Lord will be present. So you're not going to have someone speaking for him giving a toast. He's going to host the toast. He's going to be there, man. We're living in a time we're going to meet Yahweh Shai. You're going to meet him face to face, which is proof also that we have to be changed. We can't meet the Lord like this. He's going to change you. He's going to crown you, and he's going to toast with you. Now let's read some more. It says, it is usually a matter of protocol at state and military occasions and a display of patriotic sentiment at civilian events. The toast is usually initiated and recited by the host, which will be Yahweh Shai, before being repeated by the assembled guests in unison.
To the kingdom. Cheers.
I love holding up cups, but imagine the Lord himself hosting it, man. And we join in. And I was reading something else, and pretty much they said in order to have what they call a loyal toast, you will use wine. That's the beverage of choice. And once again, our Lord, He's coming back, and we're going to see Him with all that power, man. But He's going to extend that power to you. Now, reading on a monarch, it says a monarch is a head of state for life or until abdication, in this case for life. And therefore, the head of state of a monarch may exercise the highest authority and power in the state. Or others may wield that power on behalf of the monarch. And that will be you joint heirs. You different men that are going to reign with the Lord, man. Usually a monarch either personally inherits the lawful right to exercise the state's sovereign rights, often referred to as the throne or the crown, or is selected by an established process from a family or cohort eligible to provide the nation's monarch. In this case, the Heavenly Father Yahweh Himself selected His Son Yahweh Shai. And once again, when our Lord returns, He's going to wield that power to you elect as well. Once again, He's going to change you. He's going to crown you. And He's going to have a toast with you. A kingly toast.
To the kingdom! Cheers! A toast with the king! Raise your glasses, my friends. A toast with the king. A toast with the king. Raise your glasses, everyone. A toast to a prosperous future. To the king. To our glorious future. To the victors, blow the spoils. Raise your glasses. Cheers. Raise your chalices. The age of our kingdom. A toast to the king.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. Oh, Salaki, and peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, man. You know, so hey, this morning news and prophecy, man. We already know what it is. You know, World War III update. And what I want to get into, you know, before we get into the videos, you know, because a lot of information, you know, has come out, you know, and you know, when you're dealing with you know, war, all right, especially at the beginning of a war, it's a whole bunch of information that's coming out quickly, you know, and it's a lot of misinformation, it's a lot of wartime propaganda, you know, certain things have to be, you know, confirmed, you know, that's why, you know, I didn't want to rush, you know, and do a news and prophecy, you know, until some things were confirmed, you know, to some reliable sources, you know, spoke on a particular things, you know, to you got to cross reference, you know, particular things. And we're in a time where you're going to see a lot of information going forth, you know, AI videos and things of that nature. All right. And you're going to get, I say, the wartime propaganda. Okay. You're going to get the bias of the Western media. You got to filter through that, you know. So, the best thing to do is let things settle, let things be confirmed, let the morning after, let things get sorted out, and then, deal with, reliable sources, more of a boots on the ground sources, and filter everything through the scriptures, and before we even get into, all right, the happiness, before we get into the boots on the ground, all right, we're gonna go into the spiritual aspect, because the reason why we follow these things is because we're seeing, all right, the birth pains that's going to lead to Yahweh Shai. Okay, we're seeing the birth pains that's leading to Yahweh Shai. Okay, so we're in a time, all right, a heavy prophecy coming to pass, and these are all the signs Yahweh Shai told us about. Okay, so as we see these signs, we know the end is close. Now, we're not at the end, it's not going to be, nuclear war next week, so we have to still be balanced and have patience. Okay, don't stop paying your mortgage or your rent. Okay, we still have certain things that have to play out, you know. So we follow these things because this is a sign of Yahweh Shai getting ready, okay, to make his appearance. All right, the revelation of Yahweh Shai, his second coming in the earth. Okay, these are the signs building up to that, but it's a build up. Okay, so as we're excited about these times, there's still patience that has to be shown on our end as these things fully play out and develop. Okay, so let's get here. I want to matter of fact, go there real quick. Let's go to Matthew 24. Okay, I brought this out yesterday, but it said this is Matthew 24:3, and it says, and he sat down, which is Yahweh Shai, upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? And it's speaking of the end of this age, because what we're watching is the end of the age of Esau. Okay, and what these devils have done, which is enter into direct war with Iran, well, they just made a big leap towards the end of their age. All right, because this is going to bring them to their war with Magog, which is Russia. Okay, now the only thing between, all right, America and Russia, all right, going into direct war, which has been the build up for decades. They've been dancing around each other. America, even during the USSR days, America, all right, and Russia been dancing around each other around the earth. Okay, a lot of these wars that we see, all right, a lot of these conflicts that we see have been, American proxies versus, all right, Russian proxies. All right, and now the only thing that separates America and Russia from coming into direct contact is Iran now. Okay, there used to be layers upon layers, okay, of proxy militaries and weaker nations that was being used for proxies, okay, for America and Russia to be at war at a distance from each other. But now there's only one layer, okay, and that's the Iranian military, okay, that's stopping. It's not stopping, but it's the last barrier, okay, from direct military contact between America and Russia. Okay, so it just puts us that step close, enough that much closer. All right, the needle has been moved. Okay, to prophecy being fulfilled on this third world war, which is going to end this age. We're watching Esau end his own kingdom. Okay, as the Lord said this nigga would. Esau is doing exactly what the Lord said he would do, which is to end his own kingdom, man. All right, and this third world war is going to do it. And it says, and Yahweh Shai answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying I am anointed, and shall deceive many. Okay, and the biggest um false prophet, which you got, niggas with fringes on that are false prophets. You got, the Christian church, and, you got these influencers on YouTube. Okay, everybody's coming, as if they're chosen and called. you know, It said, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am All right, anointing shall deceive many, but the biggest deception is coming from these devils. Okay, these Edomites, man, they're the biggest false prophet, man. Okay, and they're pushing this technocracy, the salvation for humanity. Okay, as the way of the future, because prophecy goes into what speaking before. Okay, and the thing that they're speaking on the most is this technocracy, man. All right, and the closer they get to trying to establish a technocracy, the closer they get to war, which is the end of this, man. All right, verse 6 it says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." Okay, so we're constantly hearing rumors of wars. All right, and now we're seeing actual violence. Okay, and each time you hear these rumors, and then it's violence. Then they disengage. Okay, it'd be a ceasefire, or it'll just be a low intensity war, ongoing low intensity war. Okay, not much, media coverage, and then it'll intensify again. So we're constantly going through these cycles of rumors and speculation of war, and then we'll get some action. Okay, and then like I said, they'll disengage or go to low intensity, and then it just be rumors again, which are rumors of circulating stories, and then you get more action. So we're going to keep going through this cycle until it gets to the point to where they're going to engage, and they're not going to stop until it goes nuclear, which is going to usher in Yahweh Shai. So this is the cycle we seeing with these nations. But each time they engage, they escalate closer and closer, okay, to this third world war. You see, each time they engage and we see action, well, they're moving the needle closer to war, because now it's getting more violent. Okay, now more nations are getting involved. Now it's getting more destructive. Each time they engage, it gets more and more destructive. Okay, and we're gonna get into that, with the videos, what's the retaliation, but we're seeing, these things intensify just like birth pains. It said, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places," man. So we're seeing, okay, these things play out, to where there's a lot of nations involved. Okay, remember, this is just day one. It really hasn't. It's barely been 24 hours. Okay, and a lot has happened quickly, man, showing you how fast the Lord is wrapping this thing up. A lot has happened quickly, man. Okay, and this war is going to drag in, all right, all the players, okay, all the militaries, okay, of the earth, that's able, all right, all the militaries whom the Lord has predestined to engage in this war. Well, they're being summoned by this conflict. Okay, the Lord is provoking them through this conflict. That's why scripture say what he that mustereth the host of the battle. Okay, so this is what we're watching. Okay, play out. Okay, is the signs of Yahweh Shai's second coming. And this even shows more in the operations that they're calling. Because America is calling their campaign is Operation Epic Fury. And they're spiritual. Okay, and then you have these small hats, you got them imposters. They're calling their Operation Roaring Lion. Okay, and we're gonna get into that in the spirit. You see, so let's go here real quick, and then we'll get into that. All right, this is Matthew 16 and 1. It says, "The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came and tempted, desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said unto them, When it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red, and in the morning it will be foul weather, all right, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the time?" Okay, so here it is. You have all this activity happening, because even back then, here it is. Yahweh Shah was right before them. He was in the midst of them teaching and preaching and doing miracles, man. Okay, and Jake still couldn't get it. It wasn't meant for them. And all these wicked niggas of the Sanhedrin, the leadership. Okay, it wasn't for them niggas to get it. So the sign was right before them, but they couldn't see it. So just in this time, the signs are right before us, man. This is evident what time we in, man. Okay, look at what's happening in real time in the earth. Okay, this man is pushing this MOTB, which is heavy prophecy. Okay, civil unrest is at the door. Jacob trouble is at the door. You be constantly getting glimpses of these things. Okay, and now this third world war is always rearing itself to the forefront. Okay, in the midst of everything that's going on. So we're seeing every sign spoken of that will usher in the second coming of Yahushua. You see, but you gotta be in the spirit, you know. Verse 4 says, a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas, and he left them and departed. Okay. So this is what our people have today is the prophets. The prophets are the sign. The prophets prophesying themselves is a sign. What they're prophesying about and these things happening, that's the sign. Okay. But this only for the hopeful elect to take heed and see, have ears to hear and eyes to see, man. Or what times we in, man. Okay. So what I want to get real quick, because like I said, the operation from the small hats. Okay, let's get this. From small hats in America, all right, when you go into what they're calling their operations, you're going to get these things. So let's deal with America first. Um, so I said, what is Operation Epic Fury? It says at approximately 7 a.m. local time, the United States and small hats began conducting extensive strikes, all right, against a wide range of targets in Iran. The strikes have been dubbed Operation Epic Fury by the United States and Operation Roaring Lion by Israel. Okay, so now let's deal with this. First, it says Epic Fury. Well, let's go into this word epic. Okay, let's get this word epic dealing with America because ultimately, the epic fury is the fury that the Lord has for you Edomites, man. Okay, this is what we finna get ready to see the fury of the Lord that He got towards these devils. So when you go into the word epic, okay, just real quick, it says epic. All right, it says epic, a long poem, typically one derived from an ancient oral tradition. This is the Bible, man. Okay, a long poem. All right, that's why I say the prophets are what singing this new song. A long poem, which is the Bible, is just a long poem. That's why I got, you know, it's analogies and you see parables. Okay, you know, similitudes. You see allegories. You see that like a poem. It's in the form of a poem. Okay, and the Spirit makes us be able to what? All right, understand the poem. Okay, to decode the poem. Okay, it says a long poem, typically one derived from an ancient oral tradition, narrating the deeds and the adventure of heroic, you see, or legendary figures, all right, or the history of a nation, which is the nation of Israel. Okay, all right, and the hero of the Bible is Yahweh Shai. So there's spiritual that they're calling, this operation. America's calling it Operation Epic Fury because we know, all right, the fury of the Lord is against these devils, these Edomites, man. But they call it Operation Epic, okay, Fury. You see? So now let's go into the scriptures. Okay, let's deal with this in the scriptures. All right, this is Let's go here to the book of Ezekiel. Well, first let's get this in Zephaniah. Okay. And then we're gonna segue to these small hats. They call theirs Operation Roaring Lion. Okay. This is Zephaniah 3 and 8 said, therefore wait you upon me, said the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determination is to gather the nation, that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them my indignation, another word for fury, righteous anger, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy, man. And he's going to send Yahweh Shai to execute this fury, man, and this anger. You see, so this epic fury, okay, is Yahweh Bashim Shai, his fierce anger that he has, all right, against Esau, Edom, okay, and these other nations done in cahoots with this devil, man. Okay, so that epic fury goes back to the fury of the Lord that he has towards, all right, you damn Edomites, man, you devils. Okay, let's go here, Isaiah 63. Let's get this in Isaiah 63. You see? So it's spiritual what's happening. All right. When you go here, it says Isaiah 63 and 1, it says, who is that coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? So it's calling you Edomites out. All right, specifically, man. This is that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, those chariots I speak in righteousness, all right, mighty to save. Okay, wherefore thou art red in thine apparel. And see, this is like a poem. You see, who is this that coming from Edom? Like a mighty man coming back from war. Okay, we said, wherefore art thou red in thy apparel? So it's like his garments are drenched in the blood of his enemies. Okay, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat. So this is like a poem. You gotta read it like a poem. You see, but we understand exactly what this is, man. The Yahushua is coming for a slaughter on you Edomites, man. Okay, he's coming for war, and it's gonna be what? Let's read it. And it says, I have trodden the wine press alone. So he's comparing you Edomites to a wine press that he's coming to try it down, which is he's coming to execute violence, man. It's a spirit, because when Yahushua comes, okay, he's going to be over the militaries of the earth. They're going to be under him, because when you tread the wine press, the grapes are under you, and you're pressing violently upon those grapes, to get the juice, okay, to extract the juice, man. So he's trying the wine press. All right, Yahushua coming back in that chariot, man. He's gonna be on top of these militaries, man, and then fire is gonna be coming down, turning these militaries into powder. So it's like treading the wine press, because you're turning something solid, okay, into something liquid. Well, Yahushua is coming to melt, all right, these militaries of the earth, man. Okay, he says, I have trodden the wine press alone, and of the people there was none with me, for I would tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury. Okay, and trample them in my fury. So the fury, this epic fury, okay, that America is speaking of, well, guess what? That fury is for you, nigga. You see, that's the fury that the Lord has for you. You see? And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day, it's like it says, for the day of vengeance is in my heart, which is in his mind, and the year of my redeem is come. Okay? So that day of vengeance is getting closer. You see, that day of vengeance is creeping up on these devils, man. And they're making these moves, and they want to be cute for the internet when they go to war. See, America going to war to be cute, man. See, that shit not working no more. Okay, well, we gonna get into it, but America going to war to be cute, and that shit is not working. Okay, fooling the American people don't win wars, man. Okay, and now they got a fight on their hand. All right, we're gonna get into that. You see, so let's go from there. Um, let's go from there. Let's get this in because the small hats, which we're gonna segue to these small hats, okay? Because it's America and these small hats that just at the forefront, okay, of provoking this third world war, and it's gonna be the worst for them. The two nations, all right, the two people, all right, that's provoking, okay, uh, this third world's war. It's gonna be the it's gonna be the worst for them in the war. Okay. Now let's go here. Ezekiel 36:5 said, "Therefore, thus said the Lord power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea." Okay. You Edomites steady coming up. Okay. Your name is constantly coming up in prophecy, man. When it deals with the Lord's anger. Okay. Which have appointed my land in their possession, which with the joy of all their heart, with the spiteful mind to cast it out to prey. And who's guilty of that, man? You small hats in the land, okay? Which, the British government, the British Parliament, okay, appointed you small hats that land, okay? And you was escorted into our land with 200,000 British troops, okay? See, all this, you see, you Edomites are guilty all across the board. All you Edomite governments of the earth are guilty, man. You know, and you small hats in Americans, you're at the forefront of it, man. All right. Ezekiel 36:6, it said, "Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys, thus said the Lord power, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury." You see that? "Because ye have borne the shame of the heathen." Okay, so this epic fury is against you devils, man. You small, mainly you small hats and you Americans, man. Okay, so the Lord's getting ready to speak in his fury. All right, and we're seeing the beginning of that, the retaliation from Iran, was this is just light work. This is very minute, and it's gonna keep getting worse and worse and worse. You're gonna keep building up more and more and more. Okay, this is just the beginning of the beginning. Okay, of major destruction that's coming, man. Okay, these are just the two open. This is just the opening act of the Lord's fury. You see, we're just seeing the opening act, man. Okay, and it says, um, I'll read it again, and then we'll. It said, "Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains, to the hills, to the rivers, and to the valley, thus said the Lord power, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy." Because the Lord wants, he's ready to put his people in the land that he promised. You know, the Lord is ready to put his people in the land that he promised, man. All right. And before that, the land has to be cleared out of all these heathens, okay, and cleansed through fire. And the Lord's going to do that in his fury. Okay. He's going to eradicate, all right, these damn heathens. Okay. And he's going to cleanse their land. He's going to purify their land with fire, man. Okay. The two nations that's finna get it the worst is these small hats in America, man. It said, "Because you have borne the shame of the heathen, man. Because their land has had to endure. All right, because hey, the earth has a spirit, man, and the land of Israel, has a spirit, man. And it is having to endure with these heathens, the worst of the heathens, Amalek. All right, inhabiting it, man. But the Lord finna change that, man. Okay, and then he called it Operation Roaring Lion. These small has called it Operation Roaring Lion. Well, let's get that in the scriptures. Okay, let's get that in. Well, in fact, let's go into who's that true lion. When you go into Revelation 5, all right, the book of Revelation, chapter 5, okay, in verse 5, it says, it's Revelation 5:5, it says, "And one of the elders said unto me, Weep not, behold, the lion, okay, the lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, had prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof." Okay, so we have the understanding, of this book due to Yahweh Shai, which is also known as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Okay, and that's the lion that's finna get ready to roar is Yahweh Shai. All right, not you goddamn small hats, man. You finna get your ass beat to sleep in this war. Okay, because you these small hats ain't yeah, these small hats ain't making no noise, man. You know, they ain't got no roar to them. Okay, the only reason that the small hats are even relevant is because of America. Okay, they're riding the coattail of America, but by themselves, man, they're pussycats, man. Okay, uh, you see. So let's go here to Joel. Then we'll get into some of these this footage, man, of what's going on, what's happening. All right. So this is on the book of Joel, chapter 3. Okay. And let's read verse 9 and read it too. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, these actual heathens. Prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. So there's a spirit of war in the earth, man. Okay, and all these nations are war ready. You see, we're in a time of war. Everybody's on high alert for war, man. Okay, this is the time that we in. Okay, there's this whole, that hey, it's a different energy out here, man. Okay, he said, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I'm strong. Okay, because what we're seeing with Iran, they weren't able to do this 20 years ago, man. They wouldn't be able to do this. Okay, the type of retaliation that they're able to sustain for these long periods of time with this accuracy, man, they wouldn't be able to do this 20 years ago, man. Certain other nations that's going to get involved, they won't be able to do the things that they're doing now 20, 30 years ago, man. Okay, but these nations have been empowered because there's a purpose that the Lord has for these nations, man. It's all through the will of Yahweh by Shema Shai. And this all shows that he is, man. Okay, because it ain't about certain of these nations. It's about the will of the Lord going forth. These nations are just vessels being used. Okay, the only reason these nations were able to empower themselves because of the will of the Lord. Okay, because he has a purpose. He has an agenda for these nations, man. It says, assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about till the cause of mighty ones to come down, oh Lord. Hey, because this is all the Lord's decrees. When we see these nations in these conflicts and we see these weak nations have become strong, that's a decree by our king. Okay, our king is going back into what we've been going into a lot lately. Okay, with a word of a king, there is power. So we're seeing demands and commands being made by a king that's playing out in the earth. We're seeing that the earth is subjugated to the will of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. And that's the Lord. One of the main reasons the Lord prophesies is so he can show us that, look, I run this shit. You see, this is him showing his people, look, I told y'all I run this shit. Nigga gotta do what I say, how I say it, man. Okay, verse 12 said, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Okay, and everyone is coming to this region, man. Because guess what? What Iran immediately did after the strikes, after they were struck by the small hats in America, they turned this into a regional war. Okay, they turned this thing into a regional war immediately. Okay, and that's what the Lord wants. The Lord wants a regional war. He wants these nations, all these nations involved in their region. The heathen are awakened now. Iran's retaliation has awakened these heathens, man. Okay, for the fulfillment of scripture. Verse 13 said, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. And see, the Lord is constantly showing the wickedness of the earth, man. This whole Epstein thing, this was the Lord showing how vile this place, and that still was the surface level. Okay, but this whole Epstein thing, and it also has emboldened these other nations. Like, look, America is is super wicked, you know. So they're looking at America like not only is this a bully militarily and economically, man, but these niggas are extremely wicked, man. Okay, so as we see wickedness being put more out there to the forefront, well, now we're seeing war constantly escalate. It's a direct coalition, man. It's not a separate thing. As we're seeing, wickedness being ousted, and the Lord is showing the filth, the shameful spewing, okay, on Esau. Well, guess what? It's bringing them closer to war because the Lord, okay, is finna reap the earth, man. He's going to, reap the elect into those chariots, man. And what do you do with the rest? You burn, okay, the chaff, man. You burn, okay, the unwanted. You get your harvest, but then you destroy. Okay, you get your good harvest that you're going to use and preserve. Okay, which is the elect, and then you burn everything else, man. Okay, and that will you will get rid of your waste. Okay, but then you will also, you know, you also what you got you'll purge the land, to get it ready for another harvest. You know, there was a science to there was a method to that. Okay, you'll reap your harvest and then you'll burn the rest. Okay, there was a method to that, man. It said multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision, man. Okay, and the decision is a judgment, and the judgment is the Lord's going to destroy all the militaries of the earth, deliver His elect. Okay, and we're going to be changed, those new bodies, Lord willing. We of that number. Okay, but the decision is already made. America's going to be dethroned. Esau, this whole system is going to be dethroned. Okay, so when you go here and it says, the Lord also shall roar out of Zion. You see that? Oh, what do you call it? Operation Roaring Lion. Well, read verse 15 first. It says, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, okay, and the stars shall withdraw their shining, which, when you go into it in the spirit, the sun and the moon, goes into wisdom and understanding, okay? Because as these things intensify, as things get more chaotic, man, the confusion of people is going to, increase, because people have this false sense of security in this society. But these things intensify, okay? And as we get closer and closer to Yahushua, man, people are going to be confused, man, and the wisdom of this world is going to fail. You know, it's going to be dark, and we're going to see people become more and more confused, more and more darkened, man. Okay, and then when those missiles come, it's going to blot out the sky. All those missiles coming to America, those chariots going to blot out the sky because the earth going to be full of chariots, man. You know, so this is what we're the leading up to. It said the Lord also, okay, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai shall roar out of Zion. You see, so Operation Roaring Lion. Okay, that's Yahweh Shai roaring out of Zion, man. Okay, on behalf of the elect, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, which is going to be that fire. How's Yahweh Shai going to utter his voice? Okay, how is Yahweh Shai going to utter his voice? You see, that's going to be all right through the fire, the chariots. Okay, it says, "And the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of His people and the strength of the children of Israel." Okay, and how's the earth going to shake? The nuclear destruction. But the Lord will be the hope of His people, the strength of the children of Israel. And that's the true Israelites, man. So Operation Epic Fury and roaring lion. That's appropriate for what we see happening and going on. Okay, that's appropriate for what we see happening. Okay, and going on real time, man, in the spirit. Okay, now let's get to some of these videos. All right, I want to go into the spiritual aspect of what's happening first. But let's get into what's going on. Get caught up. All right. So let's go here first. This is from yesterday, and then so much coming out, so then it got to be filtered through, and then, it's certain things that I had, prepared last night that I was gonna play this morning, but so much new stuff coming out, and then certain things become, invalid, or certain things become old news quick, in time of war, you know, news from an hour ago become irrelevant. That's how fast things move. But let's play this, about 10 minutes of this, and this kind of sum up, okay, what we've seen transpiring, over these last few days. Okay, the initial attack by the small hats, okay, in America. Okay, so let's play this.
Not necessarily. There's some celebrations going on across the region, similar to what we saw during the 12-day war in places like Jordan, where you had people cheering on Iran's ballistic missiles and hypersonic missiles going over their heads through air defenses. So, your reaction to this, especially the legitimacy part, because they're across the board, it seems like, other than the compliant leaders in the region, there's a lot of anger about this.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, it's been interesting to watch. And I know that a lot of people look at Iran and they say, oh, well, it's a paper tiger. It's not really going to respond. Well, today, Iran did respond, and it responded in a way that was unprecedented. I mean, never before have we seen this wide ranging of an attack targeting all of these U.S. military bases and having an impact in a number of different ways. I mean, we went into this knowing that the U.S. military was not prepared for this. I know Trump got a little mad earlier this week over the warning saying, look, if you go in and you attack Iran and this goes beyond, 4 to 7 days, we are going to be looking at a stockpile shortage. And that's not good when we're talking about helping out Ukraine over here and preparing for the eventual dream of war with China that the hawks in Washington still have. So they want to be careful when it comes to how they're approaching Iran. Well, Iran has made it clear that not only are they legitimate, but that they do what they say they're going to do. And one of the things they've been saying with each version of True Promise 1, 2, 3, 4 at this point is that every time they retaliate, it's going to keep getting harsher and harsher, and it's going to come sooner and sooner. So instead,
it's going to be harsher and harsher, and it's going to come sooner and sooner. What does that remind us of? The birth pains. Okay, that's the birth pain. What happened when a woman has those contractions? Okay, they become harsher and harsher, and then they become more frequent. Okay, so this is the birth pains of all prophecy being fulfilled, man. Or this the MOTB, the Third World War, and the second coming of Yahweh, man. Okay, and the Lord has this thing set up, and then it's the spiritual, because Iran's retaliations to, all right, the small hats in America are called True Promise. All right now they're True Promise 4, which 4 goes into mercy. Okay, so you have, Epic Fury on one side, Roaring Lion, Epic Fury and Roaring Lion on one side, but then you have True Promise, Operation True Promise from Iran, okay, on the other side, man. And this is all speaking to us in the spirit. See, we in the spirit, we can see these things, man. It's the Lord talking, because that's how the Lord talks to us through prophecy, man. You see, the Lord finna make true on these promises, man. And this is the beginning of it. This is just a phase, okay, in those promises coming true, man, for his people, beginning with the remnant. Okay.
Instead of waiting around for 2 weeks and going, is Iran going to respond? We saw this response almost immediately. And I don't blame people in the region for getting excited while, yes, they know that there is going to be destruction, getting excited at the fact that Iran is responding, because Iran is the main country standing for the Palestinian people, standing against an ongoing genocide, standing up against the West in a lot of ways. And that doesn't come without weighing its capabilities and its options. I mean, we're talking about a country of 92 million people. And while, yes, there are moments where you look at them and you say, oh, they're standing up to the US, a war would still have an impact on Iran, just like it would have an impact on the region. And that's something that their government has had to take into account. I think the fact that they are being so quick to move on the Strait of Hormuz is a very telling sign, because that's also unprecedented. I mean, I've heard people say for years now, oh, Iran will never actually close the strait, right? They'll never take that step. Well, they're taking that step right now, and they're making it clear that if they are going to suffer, if dozens of young schoolgirls are going to be murdered, well, the rest of the region and the global economy is going to suffer as well. And so it puts the US and Israel in a very dangerous place, because up until now, they've been bargaining on this idea that Iran has no legitimacy, that the government would just fall, that all of the hawks in their.
To be honest, sometimes I actually have no idea what's going on until I open Monday.com, and boom.
Situation rooms who are coming up with different ideas of how this should play out, that they would know exactly how things would go. Well, they didn't seem to know how it would play out, and we're not even 24 hours into this. So I think we still have a long ways to go, but I do think that Iran is making it very clear that they are going to do what they say they're going to do, and that has got to be terrifying to the US and Israel.
And Iran is doing exactly what they said they was going to do. They struck, all these different military bases, in the region, as they said they were going to do. We've been watching, we've been following it. They've been saying that for weeks, that this how it was going to play out if they were attacked, and they're doing exactly what they said they was going to do if attacked. Okay, now the Strait of Hormuz, has they're saying that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, which that's going to have a major impact. And the markets open up Monday, and we'll see, how that's going to affect, the oil prices, per barrel. Okay, we'll see, man. This is just the beginning. Just the beginning. Okay, and people are already trying to draw a conclusion to it. No. This is just the beginning. Okay, this is just the very beginning. All right, and what Iran is doing, they're setting a hell of a tempo with retaliation, I believe. Just listening to different accounts, man, like they were doing missile strikes for 16 hours straight. There's rumors that few American military bases don't exist no more, man. There's a few military bases in their region that don't exist anymore, obliterated. Okay, like Trump was supposed to do to the nuclear facilities in Iran. Okay, now we do know that the Ayatollah, all right, the name Ali Khamenei, all right, the supreme leader of Iran, he's been confirmed dead, and a few of his leading, advisors and generals, which this is a part of war. And see, the supreme leader being dead, look, they don't factor into prophecy. Okay, he's not needed for prophecy to play out. Okay, and that doesn't give America no victory. Now, it's cute for the internet, that they killed the leader, but there was already things in place for that. Do you think this is war? People die. The West hype up, death of particular people like that's just some amazing victory for the American military. No, this is the beginning of the end for the American military, man. Okay, and then they killed a regional leader. He wasn't just a leader to Iran, he was a leader to that region. Okay, so all these things are backfiring against America, man. Killing one man doesn't give you the victory in the war when you got this whole system. And see, we're gonna go into it, all right. But just to confirm that, because there was rumors yesterday going back and forth, and that was one of the things I was waiting on as well, to kind of get that confirmation, dealing with that situation, But he's confirmed dead, okay, due to these, these American joint strikes with these small hats, so he's confirmed dead, along with other leaders, but they all already been replaced, and it's still a go. Nigga, it's still a go. Okay, so let's play this some more.
Yeah, well, Israel, KJ has been talking a big game. They say that they are going to do this for at least 4 days. I don't know if you heard the fancy names that the U.S. and Israel came up for their operations. I believe it's Epic Fury for the Trump administration, the U.S., and Roaring Lion for Israel. But those sound nice and tough and scary. And of course, there have been people who have been killed. But what has this moment so far revealed to you about the image of the United States and Israel as these dominant powers that are supposed to not ever be challenged in any kind of way, especially militarily? That's like the no go for especially the United States.
Well, I think that image has been tarnished more and more. And it started certainly with 12-day war when Iran showed that it could hit back and it could hit back hard. And it was actually Israel which wanted to sue for peace. And now they think they have, reloaded and they wanted to go in again and decapitate. And once again, I said that if the US does not have an early decapitation, early suppression of enemy air defense, early destruction of command and control, things get much, much more complicated. And I think it shows that, that the US does not have the power that it has. It doesn't have the kinetic force to push around Iran as it has done with many, many other smaller countries like Panama, Grenada, Venezuela, etc. It's a completely different ball game. 90 plus thousand people, a continent the size of Europe, vast, dispersed military capacities, 17 different types of missiles, 8 of which can very readily reach Israel. I think it breaks this notion of US impunity and invulnerability. We're still in early days. Things could shift rapidly. War is always unpredictable. But the main thing that the US and Israel were counting on, that is rapid decapitation, seems to have failed. You've missed your sucker punch. And now things become much, much more difficult and challenging for everybody, including Israel, including the US, but certainly also for the Gulf cooperation states. These are the US vassals that are facilitating the war, in particular, Bahrain, UAE, Qatar, Jordan, Saudi Arabia. All of them are currently soiling their underwear. And we also have to remember that they are weak, illegitimate states that don't really even have the proper definition of statehood. Excepting Saudi Arabia, the rest of them are populated 60 to 90% by migrants.
So you're talking about these Gulf Arrow states, So basically, what America did, all right, they went in and their whole thing was to, let's kill the leader. Because what you call shock and awe, that's an American military method. It's shock and awe. Let's kill the leader, okay? Let's kill these top generals, okay, to try to destroy military strategy going forth, and let's kill some civilians. So they kill the leaders for the sake of destabilizing, all right, the military and political structure in Iran. So let's kill the leaders and destabilize the military structure and the political structure, all right, in Iran. Okay, let's do that. Let's do shock and awe. Okay, and then they killed civilians. They attacked the elementary school. Little girls. There's a lot of little girls got killed. Okay, so they do that to show, well, look, your government can't protect your U.S. civilians. Okay, so this is what they want to do. This is the method. This is the thinking behind U.S. and small hat military doctrine is we're going to kill the top leaders, okay, which is going to destabilize the military strategy and, all right, the political infrastructure, okay, put them in chaos so they can't function going forth, okay, and then we're going to kill civilians to show that, look, Your government can't protect you from us. All right. And that's what they was banking on. The exact opposite happened. The military strategy. Look, these things are already planned. They know how the West get down. The Alaman Kamini, okay, which I show it, but at the end, he already said, like, look, I'm gonna die for this. He been told them that. See, Alamini Kamini, if I'm saying his name right, the supreme leader of Iran, they was begging him to go into bunkers, and he could have went to Russia. You know, there was reports that Putin wanted him to come to Russia. Okay, but he said, nah. He said, my people can't leave their house. I ain't gonna leave my house. Because you're doing just listening to some Professor Morandi, which he's over there in Iran. So I was listening to him this morning as well, and he was just going into all right who the supreme leader was. But back when he was just the president, when there was a war between Iraq and Iran, which America they sicked Iraq on Iran, but the supreme leader, he went to the front line of the war as the president, and he didn't even go through basic training, but he was on the front line of the war as the president. He was a sitting president and went to the front line of the war when they was fighting Iraq. Okay, see, it's different in the East. You see, the West, like it's rumors that Netanyahu, he in Germany and Berlin and all this. Oh, these niggas start out. See, these Western leaders start all this shit, then they go chill in they bunkers and mansions. Okay, and you people go get on the front line with this shit and be destroyed. Okay, so Kalamini, he could have left. He could have went to Russia. He could have been in Moscow right now, but he said, nah, my people can't leave their house. I'm gonna stay in my house. He like, look, I already got a succession. I already got somebody next. So basically, long story short, he told him, I'm gonna die behind this shit. I'm gonna stand on what I said. Okay, which was, hey, what he used to say about America, man. You see, he said he's gonna stand on what he said. But guess what? What they thought was gonna happen, the opposite happened. Now the military strategy is going forth and is going forth with more intensity, man. Okay, well, you're gonna get into that, but ultimately, just to sum everything up, America went for the knockout punch. Okay, and then they didn't. And then he didn't hit like they want. Now they have to deal with the retaliation. Basically, it's like you go into the bar, like, I'm finna knock this nigga out. Okay, so you sucker punch this nigga, and that don't work, and now you in a fight. But if you just playing for the sucker punch to work and that don't work, now you in a fight. Okay, and then come find out this nigga know jujitsu. Okay, this nigga black belt. This nigga, ex wrestler in college. So you ain't know all that. You just, mama finna knock this nigga out, and then it don't work. Now you got to deal with all these expertise, and that's where America is at, man. Okay, so let's go to some more video. Okay. What we at? So let's play this.
So, after hours of denying, Iran last night confirmed the death of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in the joint military aggression by Israeli and American terrorists. Also killed in the same attack were IRGC Chief Major General Mohammad Pakpour and senior advisor to Ayatollah Khamenei, Ali Shamkhani. The Supreme Leader's daughter, his granddaughter, and son-in-law too were killed in these attacks. Meanwhile, Iran has wreaked havoc across West Asia by raining missiles and drones since yesterday. The worst hit has been Dubai, where Iranian missiles and drones have completely wrecked the city's image as a safe global business hub.
And Iran been giving Dubai their work. Okay, they've been giving Dubai their work. So all these little cute vacations that y'all people got planned to Dubai, over with. You can cancel that. Okay, if they haven't canceled it for you. Okay, so all these, these little cute trips to Dubai. All right, the nigga woman going to be a goddamn porta potty. Okay, all this over with. You see, Dubai is getting pumped. They getting the worst of. All right, this regional retaliation, man. Okay.
Elsewhere, Iranian missiles have made a mockery of the American air defense system across the Middle East, particularly in Israel, amidst reports of at least 200 American soldiers either killed or injured in Iranian retaliatory strikes. These would be the topics of my video today, so please stay tuned. The news of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's death has stunned the Iranians and the Shia world. The Iranian supreme leader was a spiritual figure for Shia Muslims around the world. His followers are aghast by the fact that the Iranian political and military leadership simply could not ensure his security, despite there being constant threats from Israeli and American terrorists. Until yesterday, we were being told that Khamenei had been taken to a safer location even before Israeli and American strikes began. But that turned out to be a lie. And this poses serious questions on the Iranian government's refusal to learn from last year's lapses. This also raises questions on the Iranian clergy's stubbornness to not do away with their fatwa or religious decree that stopped the Islamic Republic from acquiring nuclear weapons up until now. Many wonder if they are realizing what a monumental mistake it was for them to remain so stupid throughout this crisis. Worse, they were still being naive to trust the rogue regime of Donald Trump and carry out diplomatic talks. But the assassination of the supreme leader is what appears to have prompted the Iranian military to go berserk or all out in hitting every single American interest in the region and American and Israeli proxies in the Arab world. Yesterday, Iran targeted several strategic and iconic locations in the UAE, including Fairmont five-star hotel in Palm Jumeirah, Dubai.
Yes, the hotels. You see, because a lot of these hotels was hosting, he's going to get into, which I heard this from that video we just watched. On further in the video, they said that they moved. Well, we already know. It shows you that the cowardness of these goddamn Americans. You in the American military, you super stupid. If you're over there in the American military, you super stupid and you deserve everything that was finna happen, man. Okay, but this is how the American military roll, man. Here it is. They put the people, okay, on these bases, sitting ducks. But then the CIA and the high-ranking officials, they stay in these five-star hotels, okay, in these Gulf Arab states, man. 5-star, 6-star hotels. Okay, while the majority of the people are on the base, man. So you're on the base of goddamn sitting duck, and these people in hotels. But guess what? Iran got the drop on these niggas, man. So they hitting hotels too. They hitting the bases and the hotels where these these high-ranking military officials at, man. Okay, so they hitting these bases, all right, where these common soldiers at, and they hitting these hotels, man. Okay, so yeah, man, Dubai, they getting there pummeled, man. Why? Because you in bed with the U.S., man. It's not a good time to be an American ally. This is the worst time to be an American ally, man.
International Airport, Burj Al Arab, and even Burj Khalifa. Although Iranians' attempt to hit Burj Khalifa wasn't successful, according to Iranian media reports, the choice of Fairmont Hotel over two Atlantis hotels in the same region was because of the presence of American and Israeli spies in the hotel. CIA and Mossad reportedly used these facilities as their regional headquarters. As Israeli TV Channel 12 even tweeted in Hebrew, which translates as CIA headquarters in Dubai was attacked with missiles. As the night set in, Iran launched more attacks on American interests and its regional allies. With Dubai's global image as a safe business hub torn into pieces, Iran also caused widespread destructions in Qatar and Bahrain. In astonishing development, one of Iranian missiles hit the heart of US Navy's Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. It's safe to say many would have its attack. So you know, US Navy's Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain is home to over 8,000 civilian and military personnel. Even UK's right-wing TV channel, GB News, couldn't stop broadcasting this truth.
Talking about remarkable and astonishing images all morning, but really, look at this. This is Bahrain. This is the headquarters of the US Navy Fifth Fleet that has clearly, somewhere within that vicinity, it has been struck a very, very significant plume of thick black smoke now taking to the skies over Bahrain. And the thing about this is it's a joint base. It's a base not just that the US military, the US Navy uses, but also the Royal Navy and some other key allies share that base as well.
Dubai-based British journalist Afshin Rattansi quoted the Iranian news agency Tasnim to claim that Iranian retaliatory strikes may have killed or injured at least 200 US soldiers in yesterday's attacks. This, according to him, would be a death knell for Donald Trump politically.
Well, I mean, many people see this as the end of Donald Trump. Tasnim, the agency in Iran, which I worked and lived in Iran for a year. We didn't always rely on Tasnim, an unofficial agency in Tehran. It's reporting that 200 American soldiers have been killed or wounded because of this Donald Trump operation. If the figure is anywhere near that, that's the worst since the Beirut barracks bombing in October of 1983. And that would surely signal the end of Donald Trump, already reportedly, according to some polls, the most unpopular president in U.S. history.
Another UK-based right-wing news outlet.
Yeah, so which they're not going to tell you. All right, it's going to be hard to get numbers on the American soldiers that they have died. Some say the hundreds, some say the thousands. That American soldiers have already died in these strikes, man. Okay, but you're not going to get there from Western media. All you're going to hear about the supreme leader and these generals, Iranian generals that died. Okay, you're going to hear that. You're going to hear about, how great the American, the intelligence is, and we got good. You're going to Trump get up and talk that shit, and you American going to clap like seals. Like, nah, man, America over there getting their work. The knockout blow didn't work. Okay, you got rumors of Navy vessels being sunk. All right, as far as this morning, I've been hearing the same report about 2 American vessels, Navy vessels, have been sunk. One just this morning, one later yesterday evening, and one this morning, man. Okay, so they can sink one, they can sink them all. Okay, so America in the fight. We finna see, and you Gulf Arab states that have been aiding, America. Okay, you finna get that work too. See, ain't nobody you can't be neutral no more. Okay, ain't no more being. See, these Gulf Arab states have enjoyed, constant war in their region, but then you still got Dubai untouched, Abu Dhabi untouched, Qatar untouched. Okay, because for the longest they've been able to enjoy the security of America. See, a American military base represented security at one point. Okay, but now it's becoming a liability. You see, the greatest thing in the world at one time was to be an American ally because you got access to markets, so your economy can boom. Okay, business ventures, a lot of investments into your infrastructure. Okay, and you got a military covering from the American military. So at one time, the greatest thing was to be an American ally. But wait a minute, now it's a liability. And see, as America is trying to show that look, your government can't protect the civilians, with the strikes that they did. That's the message they wanted to send to Iran. Well, guess what? Iran is showing all you Gulf Arab states that have been in bed with the whore, this nigga can't protect y'all. Okay? We can hit what we want when we want. So why y'all niggas are allied with these niggas? They can't protect y'all. Okay? So now having the American military assets in their region, now you just become a target. You've been greenlit. Okay? So you go to this video and it said Iran just hit 27 U.S. bases. The 6 waves have begun. Okay? Like I say, America went for that knockout. They didn't knock them out. Now they in the fight. Okay? And they're using this term, what Iran is doing is called clearing the attic, which means they're using all their old inventory so they can get to the new. Because once they open up, because if America and Iran, they gonna get depleted with them air defense, gonna get depleted, and then they gonna start they gonna really bring the noise, man. They gonna really bring the pain. You see, this is just the beginning. We ain't 2 days in yet, and 27 targets have been hit. This is unprecedented. This has never happened to America, man. To where their military bases have been targeted like this in any type of war. This has never happened, and we in day 2. Okay, so let's play this.
There's an image that every intelligence analyst, every White House strategist, every Netanyahu advisor, and every American general who planned Operation Epic Fury needed to be true. And that image does not match what the cameras in Tehran and Isfahan and Shiraz are showing right now. The image they needed was this: a leaderless Iran, a stunned population, security forces standing down, crowds pouring into streets to celebrate the death of the man who repressed them, and a political vacuum that Reza Pahlavi could fill with an American-backed transition government before the IRGC could consolidate around a successor. What the cameras are showing is this: large crowds filled streets in Tehran and other major cities, with mourners waving flags, holding portraits, and chanting. Large crowds of protesters have flooded Isfahan and other cities across Iran following the U.S.-Israeli assassination of Supreme Leader Khamenei. Demonstrators are calling for revenge against the United States and Israel, chanting and marching across the country. Revenge, not celebration, not regime change, not Reza Pahlavi's name in the streets. The word being chanted in Tehran and Isfahan and Shiraz this Sunday morning. The word filling the squares and the boulevards and the residential neighborhoods of a country that lost its supreme leader, its IRGC commander, its defense minister, and 4 senior military commanders in a single Saturday is revenge. The crowds that American planners needed to be celebrating are mourning. The security forces that Trump told to lay down their weapons are not laying down their weapons. And the IRGC, whose chain of command was described yesterday as in disarray, has just announced its 6th wave of retaliatory attacks. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said 27 U.S. military locations in the Middle East were targeted in Iran's latest retaliatory wave of counterattacks. Iran's forces also targeted Israel's Tel Nof air base, its military headquarters, and a large defense industry complex in Tel Aviv. The IRGC said missiles and drones were used in the 6th wave of retaliatory attacks, and it vowed to continue its warfare. The armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran will not allow the air raid sirens in the occupied territories and American bases to stop, and will continue to deliver repeated and regret-making strikes as a different and very hard step of revenge. 27 locations, 6th wave. The math of this operation is now visible. It killed the supreme leader in the first hours, eliminated 4 senior commanders alongside him, destroyed Iran's early warning radar, hit 5 Gulf countries, and declared the operation a success. And Iran's answer, 36 hours after the first bomb fell, is its 6th wave of attacks against 27 American military locations simultaneously. Not 1 wave, not 2, 6. Each successive wave representing the pre-delegated launch authority that Iran built into its military doctrine specifically so that killing its leadership would not stop the retaliation. It would intensify it. Iran's Revolutionary Guard say they launched extensive missile and drone attacks targeting U.S. military bases and Israeli sites across the region. Tehran will take a different and harsh step of revenge with successive, regrettable slaps, the statement warned. Successive, regrettable slaps, that language, clinical, sequential, describing a campaign that has a plan and intends to execute it fully, is not the language of an organization in disarray. It is the language of an organization that is executing exactly the doctrine it announced it would execute, in exactly the sequence it planned, regardless of who was alive to give the orders. Because the orders were already given before Khamenei died, before the IRGC commander died, before the defense minister died. The pre-delegation was the doctrine. The doctrine is running now. One of Iran's most powerful figures, Ali Larijani, secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, signaled Iran's defiance on Sunday, vowing to stab America in the heart in retaliation. Larijani said Iran had assured leaders in the region that it was not after war with them, but would continue to target American bases in Middle Eastern countries. It must be made clear once and for all that the Americans cannot bully the Iranian nation. Ali Larijani, the man the source document identified as the one figure with enough institutional credibility to hold the IRGC together through the succession crisis, now speaking publicly on the record to CNN, vowing to stab America in the heart. Not a hardliner, not a revolutionary firebrand. The man who spent years as Speaker of Iran's parliament, who negotiated with European diplomats, who was described by Western analysts as the pragmatic wing of Iran's political establishment. And his first public statement after Khamenei's death is a promise of a stabbing. The regime change operation did not produce regime change. It produced the sixth wave. Stay with me. To understand why the sixth wave of IRGC attacks against 27 American military bases represents a strategic failure for Operation Epic Fury's architects, not a military defeat, but a failure of the specific theory of change that the operation was designed to execute. You need to understand what disarray actually means when applied to a military organization that built its entire post-June 2025 doctrine around operating without centralized command. Michael Mulroy, former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, told Al Jazeera that although the killing of Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei would mark the second regime takedown attempt by the U.S. after Venezuela, Iran's scenario is a different ballgame. The regime in Venezuela was really held together by Maduro, with some very weak underlings. In Iran, you had the supreme leader, of course, but there were multiple different power centers in the clerical establishment, the military, the IRGC, and the intelligence service. Commenting on a possible reaction by Iran, Mulroy said the country is unlikely to comply with U.S. demands. As much.
Let's see what in Iran, has prepared, its military not to depend on the central command. Its leadership is very dispersed, okay, amongst different branches, different regions. You see, so killing one man doesn't stop the system. As you can see, there's a system in place, okay? So killing one man doesn't stop, okay, the system that's already in place. And everybody got their marching orders, okay? They know what to do when this person die, because they know once you get into a particular, leadership roles that you're going to be targeted. So it's already succession, and there's already commands given beyond one person dying. 1 to 2, 3, 4 people dying. There's commands that's already understood to go forth with, man. So let's play this some more.
Pain not only to the United States, but also to the Gulf countries in the region. Multiple power centers, not one man, not one structure, not one organization that collapses when its head is removed. The IRGC, the regular military, the clerical establishment, the intelligence service, the assembly of experts, the guardian council, the judiciary, all of them separate institutional structures with separate funding streams, separate command authorities, separate political constituencies, and all of them still intact this morning, still operational, still executing pre-delegated launch authorities, still directing the sixth wave of attacks against 27 American bases, while simultaneously managing the succession crisis through the constitutional 3-member council that Iran's founding fathers built specifically for this scenario. Iran appointed Ahmad Vahidi, a former defense and interior minister, as the new commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps on Sunday, state media reported. Iran's state media confirmed the deaths of 4 senior commanders of the Islamic Republic's armed forces, Mohammad Pakpour, Ali Shamkhani, Abdulrahim Musavi, and Aziz Nasirzadeh, new IRGC commander, appointed. On Sunday morning, less than 24 hours after the old commander was killed in the same strike that killed Khamenei. That speed of institutional response, designating a successor to the IRGC's top command within hours of the command's elimination, is not improvisation. It is the execution of a succession plan that was prepared, documented, and held in reserve for exactly this contingency. The four-layer succession government that this series of scripts documented 6 weeks ago is not a theoretical construct. It is a functioning document that Iran's surviving leadership is consulate in Pakistan's Karachi amid a surge in tensions. Video footage showed security forces opening fire as angry demonstrators set fire to the guardhouse. Hundreds of Iraqis attempted early Sunday to storm Baghdad's fortified green zone, where the U.S. embassy is located. Their attempts have been thwarted so far, but they keep trying, a security source told AFP. Protesters gathered outside the U.S. embassy in Baghdad amid a surge in regional tensions. Pakistan, Iraq. The U.S. consulate in Karachi stormed. Security forces opening fire on protesters. The U.S. embassy in Baghdad under siege attempt. The Green Zone, the most fortified diplomatic compound in the world, built at a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars specifically to withstand exactly this kind of popular assault. Pro-Iran militia flags. This is not Iran's retaliation. This is the regional response to Iran's retaliation. The spontaneous popular mobilization across Muslim-majority countries that America's Gulf allies privately warned Washington would follow any operation that killed Khamenei. The Gulf states that American jets took off from on Saturday morning, Kuwait, Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, are now watching their ex-Patriot populations shelter in place, their airports shut down, their Patriot and THAAD batteries firing against the sixth wave of Iranian missiles, and their governments issuing increasingly urgent calls for America to stop, not for Iran to stop.
Now, all these places where America was able to use, their airspace, okay, their facilities, okay. These were the places that were hit first, and Dubai got the worst. UAE, they got the worst, man. Because they make it possible for America to try to all these strikes on Iran, where these regional allies, all right, these Gulf Arrow states, they make it possible, man. So Iran is sending a message like, look, if you gonna help these niggas, you in this war. Ain't no more being neutral, man. Okay, if you help America, nigga, you are now in the war. Okay, you help these niggas, you with these niggas, man. You see, ain't like I say, these little cute hotels and where they got the little island with the palm that look like a palm tree or whatever. All this shit is now a war target now. Okay, now you green lighted yourself for helping these niggas, man. Okay, and it's putting pressure on this whole region, because if you continue to help America, you're gonna continue to get hit. Okay, so now these Gulf Arrow states, they're in the position they gonna have to make a move. Okay, because they can't keep because none of these Gulf Arrow states are military power. Okay, and anything Esau just use these Gulf Arrow states like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar. Esau just use this for places where he go kicking and chill. That's why he invests so much into these places, because of those resources. And then he wants infrastructure set up to where he can go kick it. And this nigga can go be nasty over there, man. Okay? These are just playgrounds for America. And for the longest, all right, these American elites, they built, these Gulf Arab states up so they can have a playground to go play it, man. But now Iran is they're striking their playground. They're striking the military bases and anywhere where these Edomites, all right, kick it at, man. So these Gulf Arab states, all this little cute infrastructure they got, now it's finna start getting pummeled. Okay? And Iran showing that these Gulf Arab states, America can't protect y'all. Okay? That veil, that demeanor of being invincible because you got American bases has proved to be the exact opposite. It made you a target now. Okay? So let's play this some more.
For America to stop, because these governments understand something that Operation Epic Fury's architects apparently did not. The crowds in Karachi and Baghdad and Tehran chanting revenge are not going home when the bombs stop falling. They are going home when they believe the score has been settled. Iran's parliament speaker on Sunday called the leaders of the United States and Israel filthy criminals who will face devastating blows for their ongoing attacks on the Islamic Republic. Iranian parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf on Sunday said that the US and Israel have crossed the red line and must pay the price. The parliament speaker, the president, the new IRGC commander, Ali Larijani, every surviving senior official of the Islamic Republic is speaking with a single voice this morning, and that voice is not saying ceasefire. It is saying devastating blows, successive slaps, regrettable consequences. And behind those words, the sixth wave of attacks against 27 American military bases, with the Fatah-2 hypersonic weapons still largely uncommitted to combat. Trump told CBS News this morning that diplomacy with Iran is now much easier because they are getting beat up badly. That framing, that military superiority produces diplomatic tractability, is the theory of change that every American war since Vietnam has tested, and that every American war since Vietnam.
And Trump just get on and say any goddamn thing. You know, he just jump on stage and tell you America's any goddamn thing, man. And they're gonna do that until the nuclear missiles are on their way to America. It's gonna be Americans that think they're winning the war until they look up and see nuclear warheads, man. Okay? And they just keep you Americans, you know, saturated with propaganda. Okay?
Vietnam has failed to prove. Getting beat up badly does not make governments more willing to accept terms they consider humiliating. It makes their populations more determined to resist those terms. And it makes their military establishments more unified in the belief that resistance is the only honorable path. Reactions to the strikes inside Iran have been mixed. Reuters, Al Jazeera, and Radio Free Europe published photos of Iranians during pro-government rallies waving the Iranian flag and holding portraits of Ali Khamenei while demonstrating against the US and Israeli attack. Meanwhile, the Daily Telegraph and Iran International posted videos of some people inside Iran celebrating the attacks. Videos showed Iranian citizens laughing and celebrating, while some chanted, "Death to Khamenei" and "Death to the Vilayat." Members of the Iranian diaspora.
So, so you see, all right, and there's multiple sources confirming that 27 U.S. bases, have been hit. All right. I gotta go to my boy. I ain't went to Paul in a while, man. Let me bring Uncle Paul out. He was going in last night, but he had the live stream last night. But he has some footage of these looks in American war rooms as these things was going on. All right. And you tell me if these are the looks of people, all right, that's looking at good news. Okay. So let's watch this.
Initial strike on Israel. According to this Middle East news site, Iran destroyed the Mossad unit 8200 Gilead base north of Tel Aviv. It was completely destroyed. So I want to show you the faces. These are the faces of President Trump, Vice President Vance, Pete Hegseth. During the attack, they do not look happy.
Look at this nigga, man. Look at your commander in chief. Okay? Look at this nigga, man. You see? JD Vance. Look at this nigga, man. These are your leaders going into the Third World War, man. Okay? You Americans are finished, man. Okay?
Okay. Here's JD Vance with his eyeliner on, Donald Trump. They do not look very happy because I don't think it's going like they planned it. Okay, this is Marco Narco Rubio, Pete Hegseth right here. Donald Trump again with his Make America Great Again, which is actually he's going to destroy America. People didn't believe me, but it's going to happen, folks. Donald Trump will destroy America, our military and our economy before it's over. This is another picture. Here is Susan Wiles, Trump assistant. This is Dan Raising Cane, the joint chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This is the vice president. Marco Rubio's over here. They do not look very happy to me. Trump does not look happy. Nobody looks happy in this room because the attack, I believe, did not take out the Ayatollah, folks.
Well, which they did. They confirmed that last night. But just going to the point, you look in the war room, man, you don't see the look of success, man. Okay. I say the knockout didn't work. Now, okay, you in an all-out fight, and you like, damn, this nigga fast, this nigga strong. You know, like, this nigga don't get tired. This, you know. So yeah, man. Goddamn clown, man. All right, clown show, man. Woe to D.O. land, and that king is a prince, man. I mean, prince is a child. Okay, so let's I think that's it, man. You know, it's a lot, still a lot. So it's gonna be, ongoing. You know, stuff gonna be coming in quick. You know, so and we can end with that. We can, there could be if a brother can post that in what's that um that was Ecclesiastes 10-16 Bible shop. Ecclesiastes 10-16. All right. Uncle Paul said JD Vance had on eyeliner, you know. These are your leaders, man. They're out of there, man. All right. And they finna lead you, okay, to the worst defeat, okay, of a military in history. Okay. Great American leaders, man. All right. And like I said, we can bring these some certain precepts you can bring out every day, you know. It said this is the brother Yaqua, the Hopeful Lake 3. Shalom Akim. Shalom to all you Akim tuning in, adding to the screen. You watching, tuning in, listening. But it's Ecclesiastes 10-16 said, woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child and thy princes eat in the morning, man. And y'all kings, all right, the leaders of the Western world are children, man. These Edomites, man. All right. And they put their populations in the worst predicament possible, man. Okay, and they do that, and they're nowhere near the fight. They make these horrible decisions and put the militaries of the West and the population of the West in the worst position possible. Okay, and they're nowhere around to have to deal with the consequences of their decisions, man. That's a child, irresponsible, okay, impulsive, okay, and it's going to at least say, woe to the old land, and the land of America is going to be turned to a desert due to your childish leadership, man. Because they were childish what they just did over there. It was extremely childish, man. It wasn't brave. It wasn't, all right, something great. It wasn't a show of power. It was childish, okay? And now they had to deal with the retaliation, okay? So, yeah, and that's a spirit the brother put this up, all right? Get both of these. This, so like, this the brother GMS North Carolina, 777, all right? The beloved elder brother Hawaii, Shalom. Jeremiah 50:14 said, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she have sinned against the Lord Yahweh by Shema Shah. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, man. Okay, so all these nations are putting themselves in position because it ends with America being nuked by all these different nations that have the ability, okay, to get their missiles over here, man. And then I believe even the nations that they got nukes that can't reach America, man. The Lord gonna help them out, make sure they get here, okay? Because it say spare no arrows, man. Okay, so the Lord finna spare no arrows, and that's gonna be the true epic fury. This the true epic fury, Jeremiah 40. I mean, so it's like a Jeremiah 50:14. That's the true, okay, epic fury. Okay, so let's go here because it's going to be the greatest overthrow. There's a brother Crusaders for Yahushua, Sirach 10-16. The Lord overthrew countries of the heathen and destroyed them to the foundation of the earth, man. And this is the build up to that, So we're in the build up to these things happening, So it's gonna be a lot of news happening quick, Razai, we can stay on it, and report these things as they happen. It's gonna be a lot of information because now this is more intense than the 12-day war when they were just back and forth between Tehran and Tel Aviv. Now you got a whole region involved, so it's gonna be a lot of moving parts, man. So Lord will, stay in the spirit, stay watching, and just a step closer to, okay, the true promises made to our forefathers, man, coming to pass. All right. So Lord will you brothers and you sisters edify till next time I say shalom. Kwam Yashala. Abba, Shalom.